Only the people who are owed nothing and worth nothing need to put on the shirt saying, "Pay us what you owe us." The WNBA All-Star game happened on Saturday. Of course, you didn't know that. Nobody knew that. But the WNBA All-Star game is a bit like, it's like talking about the best dressed person at Waffle House or something. It's like the best dressed Waffle House customer that's about on par with saying you're an all-star of the WNBA. Very low bar. In WNBA's case, they don't have any all-stars except one. They have Caitlin Clark, and who I think wasn't even playing. I don't think. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. But nobody cares about any of the rest of them or even knows who they are. But that didn't stop them from taking the court in this attire. Here it is. Check it out. Let's welcome the night's official. Make her second All-Star officiating, reaching the So the shirts say, "Pay us what you owe us," which I actually thought was pretty admirable and selfless, because these ladies are volunteering to work for free, it would seem. Because that's what that means. With one exception, that is what they're owed. Nothing. Less than, actually they're owed, they should be paying to play. They should have to pay their way in like it's Little League, right? That's how it should go. Because the WNBA loses tens of millions of dollars a year, every year. It's propped up by the NBA, as most people know by now. And that's still the case, even with record levels of interest in the sport due entirely and solely to Caitlin Clark. Still, the league loses money by the truckload. It lost $50 million last year on a record year for ratings. So what does that tell you? So how much are the rest of these ladies worth? As basketball players, literally nothing. I mean, not a dime. Caitlin Clark she really should be getting paid many millions of dollars, not because I'm interested in watching, but just because the fact that she's been able to generate any interest in the WNBA you could argue it's one of the most impressive feats in human history. I honestly didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was possible that anyone could generate even the slightest interest in the WNBA, and she's generated a little bit. And so I think that is really moving a mountain. So they should pay her, exorbitant sums, but for all the rest of them, it should be like Caitlin Clark is paid whatever, I don't know, $20 million a year, and the rest of them should be paid. Really what it should be is that all the other WNBA players are paying Caitlin Clark. There should be a pool, right? They should all be putting money in a pool, and then it all goes to Caitlin Clark as tribute. That's what it should be. But, they demand raises anyway, which is a common problem, of course. People who bring nothing to the table and contribute nothing at all still want to get paid like they do. They still want raises. I hear this from employers all the time, this complaint that, people have always done this since time immemorial, for as long as there have been anything like jobs, but I think these days it's worse than it's ever been, that people just have absolutely no clue what they're worth in the context of their profession. Okay, as a human being, you have infinite value. You're a child of God. Sure, you can't put a price tag on a person as a person, but in your job, there is a price tag. And you got a lot of people in the working world these days, in all professions, really, who just have no concept of what they're actually worth. And here's what you have to be able to do. You got to be able to do kind of the theoretical math. And you have to say, okay, if I wasn't here, right, in this organization, what would happen? What would happen to this organization if they didn't have me? Right? And in Caitlin Clark's case, her departure would be devastating to the organization. It would be a catastrophe. It would be the apocalypse if Caitlin Clark were to leave. I want to take a second and do something a little different. Rather than read you an ad, I want to tell you a true story, because it says everything you need to know about Good Ranchers. Recently, my producer Sean and I were grilling some steaks, and we started talking about how going out to steakhouses isn't the same experience after having Good Ranchers. Sean told me he tried to eat at one of his old favorites recently and couldn't even finish the steak. So it was borderline inedible. I've had the same experience. There was a time when I'd enjoy a steak at a mid-range chain, not to name any names, but after getting used to Good Ranchers, it's like your taste buds evolve. It recalibrates your whole understanding of what meat should taste like. The store-bought stuff and the restaurants, they just don't cut it anymore. So I'm not telling you to try Good Ranchers just because they sponsor the show. I'm telling you because this is what I feed my own family. It's what I serve my friends. It's what I eat. And I don't eat garbage anymore anyway. You won't be disappointed. Use my code Walsh to get your free meat for life and that extra $40 off. Stop denying yourself and start eating better with quality American meat. Again, just use code Walsh at goodranchers.com for $40 off and free meat for life. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. And if that's the case for you and your job, then you have leverage. I mean, you've got a ton of leverage. And then you can kick down the door and march in there and say, hey, pay me what I'm owed. You can do that because you have immense value in the context of the organization where you work. But unfortunately, for literally every other player in the WNBA, if they left, nothing would happen. I mean, not a single thing would happen. It would have no effect at all. They'd be replaced by somebody else, and that would be it. So they have no leverage. And it just astounds me to see the number of people, it's not just the WNBA, again, who have no concept of this, no idea how to reasonably and honestly assess their own professional value. I saw a tweet with like 60,000 likes that said, and I'm not, this is what it said, that basically the WNBA player salaries shouldn't have anything to do with the profits they generate. I don't have the tweet in front of me. It was like 60,000 likes saying that, the profit that for the business you work for is not your problem. It shouldn't have anything to do. It shouldn't have anything to do with your salary. It's delusional. It's a totally delusional attitude that people have, and they're living in a fantasy land. People like they're walking around on a permanent 24/7 acid trip. And you see this anywhere you work. You see these useless people who expect to get paid and promoted no matter how little they contribute. On the other hand, you work with some people, right? The Caitlin Clarks, and you're like, man, we can't lose this person. Don't leave us. Please don't leave us. But then there are other people who, for them, it's like they could leave and we wouldn't know. Like they could not be here. They could evaporate and it would change nothing. We wouldn't even, it's like Office Space, right? You could be working, we wouldn't even know that you were gone. And yet it's often the people in the latter category who go around talking about what they're owed. That's the thing. It's the people that's why, and there was a clip from some other WNBA player, some salty player who said that, talking about the shirts, and they're really proud of the fact that they wore the shirts that say, pay us what you owe us. And there was some WNBA player, again, I don't have the clip, it doesn't matter, who said, well, I'm not tattletaling, but Team Clark, Caitlin Clark's team, they weren't really on board with the shirts. Like they didn't really want to they weren't excited about wearing the shirts. Now, I think Caitlin Clark did put on the shirt ultimately. And she's, because she's no courageous hero herself, by the way. She's paid the tribute many times, the woke tribute. She's bowed to the mob and all of that. And it looks like she did that in this case. But do you know why Caitlin Clark wasn't excited about wearing the shirt, according to you? Because she doesn't need to. Okay. Only the people who are owed nothing and worth nothing need to put on the shirt saying, pay us what you owe us. Right? It's the most useless people who go around constantly talking about what they're owed. That's the number one way to know if somebody is useless, is if you constantly hear them talking about what they are owed. Okay, there's this inverse correlation between how often you talk about what you're owed and what you're actually owed. Now, if you have great value in your profession, then you need to advocate for yourself. So sometimes those are conversations you need to have. But you shouldn't need to be constantly saying it. If you're a real contributor, you don't have to constantly do it because your work speaks for itself. Caitlin Clark, what she should have done, and she just doesn't have the guts to do this, but she should have been the only one not wearing that shirt. Because her thing is like, hey, I'll let my play on the court speak. I don't need to put this dumb shirt on. Okay. I'm not going to join all you people with your dumb, stupid shirt. I'll go out and contribute. Okay. I'll make myself undeniable. I will be undeniable in the way that in the way that I conduct myself and the way that I perform and produce. It's only the people who do nothing. And then you hear these people say, everywhere I work, everywhere I go, I'm never paid what I deserve. Nobody appreciates me. I'm always taken advantage of. Well, it's because you're useless. Okay. That's why. Okay. Everywhere you go, every relationship I'm in, it never works out. Everyone's always backstabbing me. No one's nice. It's because you're a terrible person. You're awful to be around. You do nothing and you're a loser. That's why nothing works for you in your life. No one wants to be around you. No one wants to pay you. No one wants to be in a relationship with you. Like, it's because of that. It's because you're a loser. You're an awful person. And you are the common denominator in this life of that you've made for yourself. And so get it together and stop complaining. That's the message. That's my general message. It's also a message to the WNBA players who are not named Caitlin Clark. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.